I want to just make a brief summary of Professor Isaac Khan's CV. Oh, sir? Thank you very much. Professor Isaac Khan joined University of Maiduguri in 1986. I believe most of you were not born at that time, students. As a lecturer too, he stays for almost 40 years in the university. And he did his master's, BSc in chemistry in 1973, MSc in organic chemistry in 1975, MPhil, that is Masters of Philosophy, in 1978, and finally capital with PhD in 1982, all from Aligarh Muslim University in India. Professor Isaac Khan has 58 research publications in international journals. And in the course of his research, he has synthesized and isolated and elucidated many new flavonoidal glycosides, a very strong antioxidant. And then he has supervised dozens of MSc and PhD students, including my humble self. So he has supervised. Professor Isaac Khan delivered more than 900 lectures on YouTube. 900, please. I think we need a standing ovation for that. I think he's an electronic chemist. And so far, more than 46,000 chemistry students benefited from his online lectures. 46,000. Wow. And so far, 1,300 students have subscribed to his lectures on YouTube. Subscription, 1,300 students. And they're getting the benefit every day. If you can remember, the last time the representative of the Vice Chancellor, that was Professor Saidu Baba, the UT Vice Chancellor Academic Services, he said that every morning, whenever the Vice Chancellor opens his Facebook, he wants to check Professor Isaac Khan first. So I believe that should be your responsibility also. You should be checking his Facebook page. Even this morning I checked my own. So please try to be checking and learning from Professor Isaac Khan. So Professor Isaac Khan is involved in all academic activities in the University of Maiduguri. He has been external examiner, internal examiner, members of several committees, departmental, faculty, senate committees, and so on. And Professor Isaac Khan has 2 children and a wife. Both of his children, they are medical doctors now. One of them, Dr. Sarah Khan, she's in the United States now doing her, I think she has finished her MD, sir. So she has finished her consultancy now. And the other one, Dr. Atif Khan, he is in India, I believe, now. He's also a medical doctor. So, thank you very much, sir. You can take your seat, sir. May I now invite the chairman of the occasion, who is representing the Vice Chancellor, Professor Abubakar Gidado, to open this seminar before I can invite the presenter. Thank you very much, sir.
Professor Emeritus, Professor Akin Gisa, Head of Department of Pure and Applied Chemistry, distinguished professors here present, Head, the Subdean, Faculty of Science, Head of Department Microbiology, dear students, good afternoon. In the morning, the Head of Department sent me a text message invited me to this seminar, and I said I must come. I came here as Abubakar Girado, not even professor. Yes, I really came here as Abubakar Girado to listen to Aiden Khan, so that I can learn from his wealth of experience. So, patiently waiting for the seminar to start, the Dean of the faculty then called me that the VC has asked him to present him, and he is unavoidably absent, that I must stand in for the VC. Now, you see, I don't know. I did not really come here to represent the VC. Unfortunately, it dawned on me that I have to be representing the VC. I hope I will represent the VC very well. The task before me is not a serious one. I have just been asked to chair the occasion, which I happily will do, and then I will put back to the VC all that has transferred, so that he will formally commend chemistry department for this wonderful innovation. This is really very good. This is what academics should be. Now we are that we're thinking we are digital, but I think Aiden Khan is more digital than all of us. The number of followership he has on the YouTube is very commendable. So this is where we should be going to. So on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, I welcome each and every one of us. And can we urge us to diligently listen to what Prof is going to tell us and learn from what he is going to say. I'm sure we're not going to live here the way we come. We are going to learn. And we are going to learn from somebody whose desire is to teach. So he will teach us what we should know about chemistry. Probably that what he was just telling me before, that is not going to be is going to be simple chemistry that we will understand and appreciate, so that we can see the application and go on to build on what he is going to do. Thank you very much for coming, and I wish us a delightful listening to this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Sir. Thank you for your wonderful opening remarks. May I now, with a standing ovation, please invite the presenter of today's seminar presentation, Professor Isaac Khan. Please, standing ovation for him. Thank you very much.
Vice Chancellor, represented by Professor Abubakar Girado, Professor Emeritus J. Feeney, Sub-Dean Professor Bakari, Professor Endahi, Professor Polo, and other senior colleagues, invited guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome to this seminar lecture. And this seminar lecture title is The Growth of Chemistry in 21st Century, Its Challenges and Opportunities. Actually, today I am not going to discuss the structural determination of alkaloid or terpenoid, how NMR. Heavy chemistry, I call it, it's very light chemistry. And light chemistry means I am taking the development from 18, year 18. First, steam, one chemical, that is water, from liquid form it was changed into gaseous form, that is called steam. And that steam with technology was used, and one locomotive was produced in 1820. That was called railway. Railway came into existence because of the chemistry, and that steam was converted into mechanical power. and that electrical power generated millions of jobs, at the same time huge amount of wealth. After that, in 1920, the American Bell Lab discovered transistor. And after the discovery of transistor, diode, triode, all the chemists and technologists, they were very successful again to create lot of wealth and lot of job. Actually, chemistry means productivity. And I am coming to that point. Let me tell you the third growth of chemistry. Then it came 1990. And 1990 was explosion of growth, and it created, that is called, everybody knows here, Silicon Valley in Los Angeles, California. Silicon Valley means the same silicon, this earth, this is your silicon earth, silicon dioxide, sand, Sahara desert, it can be converted. And that's why I am coming to that point. After knowing this thing, that this silicon brought trillions of dollars economy to America. Because this silicon was responsible of manufacturing all your iPhone, television, plate, and all gadgets, digital gadgets. And still, that Silicon Valley is producing a lot, and lot of CEOs, especially Google, everybody knows on this earth, every human being, Google is an Indian CEO, Sundar Pichai. He created the Google. So all these growths I am telling of 1800. So first, in a very simple way, if I am asking, define chemistry, what is chemistry? In a very simple way, chemistry is the science of matter, nothing else. Chemistry is the science of matter, and where we study about the physical and chemical properties of matter. And also, second question comes, who are chemists? I can say that most of the people who are sitting with shining face, they are chemists. They are chemists. But question comes, who are chemists? Chemists are those people, are those scientists who can transform the same matter into new substances. Like this neem tree is there. As a chemist, I can transform this neem tree into glucose. And again that glucose, because I know as a chemist that it is not tree, it is cellulose. And that cellulose can be hydrolyzed into glucose. And that glucose can be fermented into beverages, that is called alcoholic beverages. So the same tree is a type of matter, part of matter, plant, animal, all these. Only chemists can transform it into lot of new substances. And there are different type of chemists on this earth. One group of scientists, they are chemists, they are busy in protecting the ozone layer. And in that protection, they are checking the industrial waste, industrial gases, which are responsible of penetrating in the ozone layer and damaging, and it is changed into oxygen. So they are also a group of chemists. The other group of chemists, they are involved in genetic manipulation, synthesis. They are fed up with very old DNA, that deoxyribonucleic acid. They want to replace the deoxy 5-member sugar into XNA rather than DNA. Because this DNA is big, is more than 6 billion old, and it cannot resist coronavirus and lot of bacteria, lot of pathogen. So let us replace it and see. So that deoxyribose can be replaced by glucose, ramenose, xylose, some other sugar, and let us see its genetic material. So they are the group of chemists. Some group of chemists, they are involved to synthesize in fermentation or meat, rice, with everything, so that it will be cost effective. And like that, many of them are there, and I will be mentioning one by one. Here, if I am talking of growth, in 1820, the population of this earth was 1 billion only. In 1820, it's all recorded, and by all data what I have collected is this extensive literature survey in some research papers, magazine, BBC, CNN, all collection, and that's why I'm mentioning all those. And very interesting thing I will tell you, when I gave this assignment to Dr. James Yakubu, he could not believe what I mentioned. So he himself went through all these and he got all the detail. It's all available. So in 1820, our global population was 1 billion. And in 1920, it became 2 billion. And today, in 2021, it is 8 billion. Don't say 7 point something, it has become now 8 billion. So you can see, it took 100 years to add 1 billion. But it took only 80-90 years to add 6 billion. So the population growth is, exponential. But our chemistry growth is more than human growth. This is what I want to mention. And with that chemistry growth, it is mentioned here, in 1800, we were having only some 200-300 chemical substances. Then it started multiplying. And with that multiplication, today we have 40 million, I think. And by 2025, it will be 130 million. By 2050, it is going to be 300 million. And by 2100, we are expecting with the same growth of chemistry, 5 billion. So we will be having 5 billion chemical substances. But one thing, let me tell you, all this growth is welcome, but we have to sustain this growth. And for chemistry growth, 3 factors are very important. The first factor is research and discovery. Second factor is improvement of technology. And third factor is demand. So when these 3 factors are there, then we can have development of chemistry. And once chemistry growth is exponential, it will create exponential wealth also. And that wealth will improve your prosperity, standard of living, your lifestyle. So they are all interlinked with this growth. Now today the problem is, in 21st century, with such exponential growth, how to sustain it. What our head of department, Dr. Mustafa mentioned that we are expecting more than 2,000-3,000, and this is my personal experience. In 85, when I was lecturing, most of them they are professor now, they are DVC and PC. There were only 15 or 20 students. The same class now I am having 900. So it's uncharted expansion, exponential growth. So we have to sustain this growth. So, and for university, 3 things are very important. What we are doing in the university system for chemistry education. First is teaching. Second, learning by the students, to make the students to learn and to judge them. That is called examination. I strongly believe that the students should understand, and there should be clarity of the subject and understanding. I don't believe in 95 or 100% marks. No. First, understanding. And once they are understanding, then they can carry on. And learning doesn't mean to memorize your memory. No, you should be creative. And the syllabus is a serious issue. I'm talking of chemistry because every day it is changing. Every day it is changing. So every second, third year, there should be revision of the chemistry courses. And chemistry department is just like restaurant. You have to present your menu. If suppose you are going to any restaurant, asking what is here. If restaurant man is saying that, sir, I have only one Coke and one suya, no, leave it. Go to other restaurant. What is there? Sir, yeah, there is fried rice, there is fish, and there is stew and all the, oh, menu is very rich. So chemistry department should have very rich menu. Different type of courses, latest courses. Now there are new branches of chemistry. And those new branches of chemistry, I have mentioned the list. They are supramolecular chemistry, nanotechnology chemistry, phytochemistry, pharmaceutical chemistry, textile chemistry, food chemistry. I mean, many more. And they are mentioned here. So, unless we are updating ourselves, it's very difficult to update. So, courses and all this, and teaching, actually is very delicate profession, very, very delicate profession. And university is not research institute, no. If somebody is interested only in writing the paragraph of experimental value and discussion, let them go to research institute. This is where 95% of our work is for undergraduate students, to make them to understand chemistry. Our main work here is teaching. And when we are teaching chemistry, sometimes 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional structures are there, sometimes twisted form there, planarity is there, and lot of gadgets we need, but if you don't have, but if you are experienced teacher, we can explain it. For example, you have one paper, sheet, one sheet. For example, if I am teaching stereochemistry, polarity of the molecule, if I am saying that benzene molecule is having 6 carbon in cyclic form, it should not be stable, but it is very, very stable. And why it is very stable? If I am telling lot of, you go to book, you will get lot of explanation, maybe in 50, 60 or 100 pages. So that is called heavy chemistry. I don't believe in heavy chemistry. I believe in light chemistry. I believe in understanding of the chemistry. Not that. You are not here to spend your sleepless night only of reading the chemistry. You have lot of responsibilities. That's all. I am not encyclopedia. I should only understand the chemistry, that's all. So if I am teaching polarity of the molecule, that is it planar or non-planar. So if I am telling to students that benzene is very stable compound in spite of the fact that it is 6-membered, because it assumes puckered structure. So when I am asking the students, they say, sir, we have never heard of this word puckered. Then I am saying, because it assumes twisted structure. Yes, sir, I have heard of twisted. And if I say, do you know the structure that is chair form or board form? Then say that I have heard only board, which is we are using for our in river to catch the fish and all this. So the thing is that they don't have any understanding, and we don't have any devices. So in that case, I will take one paper, and this paper is some just a cyclobutane. These are 6 carbon atoms. Okay, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is on the plane. So it is planar molecule. It is planar molecule, and I am doing like this. I have done it, now it is kept. It is puckered. It is no more planar. It has lost its planarity because all the 4 carbon atoms are hanging in space. They are occupying position in space. One is hanging here, one is hanging here, one is hanging here, one is hanging here. They are not all the same. That is called planarity, and it has lost the planarity. And that's why any molecule which is losing its planarity, it becomes puckered. It will be all stable. So rather than going and spending hours to understand the stability and puckered nature and twisted stereochemistry, if it is demonstrated, nobody will forget about the planar representation of AC. Like that, I used to give many examples. Now the question is, our Vice Chancellor, represented by Professor Abu Bakr Gidado, he mentioned one thing, that Professor Khan is online and he has delivered up to 900 lectures. It is not 900, now it is more than 1,000. But it is all, I mean, they are with YouTube people, they are releasing one by one. This electronic platform, in this crowded, we can say exponential growth, is the only solution good chemistry knowledge. Otherwise, we cannot conduct even CA of 900 students. And here, I believe we have very, very good expert in computer science and this, like I respect Professor Bakari. He is a very sharp and talented man in all this technology. We should shift towards this side, and also I wish that let all Nigerians, universities, should follow ICT, that is Internet Computer Technology, and let all the universities should be covered under electronic cloud. All these students should receive all these lectures free of cost, because here in Nigeria, the internet and YouTube learning, listening and even teaching is very, very costly. In other places like in India, it is almost free. It is almost free. So I wish that that situation should come. So these are all basic challenges. Then second challenge comes to our colleagues, those who are involved in research. Once we are doing research in chemistry, it is the fastest growing, as I have told you, and also most productive. And every day we are receiving 7,000 publications. Even it is not humanly possible to go through their titles. Forget about abstract and summary. It is not possible. So we have to go to some website. I have mentioned all those websites, and here actually just since it is a lecture, time tight position, I have to finish everything within 1 hour. Otherwise, everything I have requested, and I am requesting even to university management to give some finance with this our press, that is printing press, to release this booklet and let it be distributed everybody, because it is motivational. Let everybody know about all this development in chemistry and how much wealth it can create. It can create the wealth more than 8 billion population. And if it is not creating that much job opportunity, it is a failure to chemistry and to chemists. There should not be anybody jobless on this planet with this technology and chemistry development. And now, that is the challenges we are facing today because of the exponential growth. But at the same time, we have technology, we have online facilities, you can explore it. Now come to opportunities. Oh, it's great opportunity of chemistry. Great opportunity. First is, that is what I have started with lithium, rare earth elements. Anyway, he will show you, I'm just telling you. Actually, nowadays, when we are saying there is war between China and Western countries, it is the war only for wealth. And the real wealth of today are REES. If I say REES means that is rare earth elements. And rare earth elements, there are 16 rare earth elements, out of which one I am going to quote, give the example, and that is called lithium. And lithium is there, molybdenum is there, vanadium is there, cesium is there, all are mentioned. They are known as rare earth elements. They are more rarer than gold, more precious than gold and diamond. And every country is chasing. And there may be rare earth war. Because all these rare earth elements, 95% is produced by China. And China can process. And these are all by, that is called bio-leaching. It's not that you go and extract the rock and mineral, no. It's a process is very complex to isolate these rare earth metals and elements. And secondly, they are very important because of two chemical factors, properties. First, they are highly magnetic, and second, they are optically they are very active. I mean, you can say opticity. So that's why they are all used in your all electronic gadgets, in your all digital screen, iPhone, everywhere in digital technology. Without these REs, your whole of the civilization cannot move. So nowadays it is very much in news, lithium, because of electric car, because of solar energy. That I will be coming and then I will mention about that. So there is 7,000 times more demand, 4,000 to 7,000 more demand of lithium as compared to the demand it was some 10 years ago. And every country is frustrated, they are not getting this lithium, cesium, molybdenum, all those rare earth elements, because they are all used for this purpose, and there is serious issue. And all these are involved here. It is shown here, all these, with these help of these elements, these are manufactured. And the second one is, that is solar cell. If I am saying solar again, it has come to one element, that is called silicon. And silicon, if I am saying, we have to purify the silicon. And purification of silicon is not easy. At 2000 degrees centigrade, we are heating it, and then it is splitted into silicon and oxygen, and that splitting is still not. That's why globally two types of solar panels are produced. One is called polycrystalline, other one is called monocrystalline. And these silicons, that is called doping with other N-type, P-type, means phosphorus and aluminum, where there are less electron. Here it is having more electron, and that is called N and P-type. I think you can show those ones. These one, and the blue one is called polycrystalline, and the black one is called monocrystalline. I think monocrystalline is also there. So this is how, and these are all where your photovoltaic cells are fixed, and each plate will be having 150 or 200 photovoltaic cells, and these photovoltaic cells, they are again being manufactured by rare earth elements. So there is great demand and great opportunity. And I used to tell my chemistry students, this is your area in Maiduguri. And I think nowadays the solar panel is the fastest growing business in Maiduguri and whole Nigeria. And I'm sorry to mention, as a chemist, in Maiduguri I have not seen a single plate which is original. No, I'm very honest in telling. I'm very honest. Why I am saying this? Because when I asked somebody to come and install solar panel, when he brought, I asked first question, which type? He said, polycrystalline. I said, what do you mean by polycrystalline? Do you have any idea? Because I know only polycrystalline. Then I asked, this one is your impure, it's defective. No, sir, it is supplied original. I said, that is what you are saying. I am talking as a chemist. It is defective. He said, how, sir? I said, what is the frame? Where it is fixed? He said, it is steel. I said, in Maiduguri, any plate, any panel, solar panel, once its frame is steel, it is duplicate. Why I am saying this? Because original solar panels which are produced in India and China, they are having aluminum frame. Why they are having aluminum frame? Because aluminum will not get corrosion even in 20 to 30 years time. And still there is chance. And here what they are supplying solar panel, they are not giving guarantee for more than 1 and 2 years. It's again fraud. Because once you are giving any solar panel, all those solar cells, it should be guaranteed at least for 20 years. So why I am saying this? This is high time for Borno state. Why not to start manufacturing our own solar panel? If suppose you cannot manufacture, you cannot isolate here. What he is showing, in India now, there are cities that are converted into solar cities. airport, they are converted to solar airport because all are supplied by solar plate. You have from Maiduguri to Bama, the whole desert area is there with sunshine. You can convert the whole Sahara desert near Chad and you can supply to whole Africa electricity without grid. So that is about the silicon. Another again silicon age has come. After 90 it was in America and today it is in the form of solar cell. And solar means one sun, one earth and one energy. Now this solar cell, what it is supplied in Maiduguri, why I am mentioning this? Because we people are chemists and knowledge is power, you should know it. These panels in India now it is obsolete, it is rejected. Because this year in 2021, the new solar panels are produced and they are called bifacial. Bifacial solar panel. And that is monocrystalline. If it says monocrystalline, it should be guaranteed that it is 98% pure. Bifacial means still what panel we are receiving is only one surface. When sun shining is there, that photon is absorbed by those photovoltaic cells. And those photovoltaic cells, they are made up of all those rare earth elements. Okay? And then it is converted, it is sent to inverter and stored. But now such type of panel is manufactured today. That is called bifacial, means from down also. One phase and second phase. Once sunlight is there, sunlight photon is absorbed, and after that in the evening, that sunlight which is absorbed by our earth, the radiation are coming out, and that radiation is absorbed by downside. So that panel is going to work 24 hours. During daytime with sun and during night with radiation, though it will guarantee 24-hour electricity. So if you are going to buy, call your dealer that I want monocrystalline and that is bifacial, not mono. That is about the, again, silicon technology. Then come this one is a really, our chemists, they are involved in. We are going to get meat without bones, without blood, and no need to slaughter. And it is cultured, and it has the advantage, and there are 30 laboratories. Out of 30, at least I know 5 laboratories which are working in India, and they are successful to synthesize the mussels which are used to prepare suya and burger. So in future you are going to get all these things, how it is prepared with the help of all those procedures are given, and then how it is converted into mussels and all these you can get. So that is meat we are going to get, and not only that, with the help of fermentation technique, we are aiming to do the synthesis of rice, wheat, everything in industries. So it will be manufactured in the industries. All these materials what it is available. And nowadays lot of products are coming. But in Nigeria they are saying that everything is plastic. Actually it is not plastic. It is synthetic. They have started producing even the vegetables. Cauliflower, cabbage, eggs, meat, all by all this fermentation. And not only that, we are targeting to convert petroleum jelly into vegetable oil. So all this work is going on, and we are on front row in that research project. Now, in childhood, I used to learn, my parents used to say when I was spending or burning money, they used to say, the money is not growing on tree. Don't misuse the money. But today, time has come. That is called phytomining. Gold can grow on tree. Gold can grow on tree. That is called phytomining. And with this phytomining, here all of you know, my all learned professors and senior colleagues, they are giving the project to go and do the elemental analysis. All the plants are capable to accumulate calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, are all you are doing. Why not gold. They are so such plants are identified. They are known as hyper accumulator. And in India, it started in 1985. Some of the British phytochemists they came and they identified one plant, and that is known as mustard plant. And mustard seed is very popular in India. From that seed, we are extracting the vegetable oil, and that vegetable oil is called mustard oil. It is golden color, just like your olive oil. And this mustard oil is very much medicinal, and it is having golden color. And from the flower, show the picture of that flower. Yeah, the mustard flower. Yeah, this is the exact flower. And from this flower, up to gram and milligram, they have extracted the gold. And now they are trying how to hyper accumulate the gold, so that if it is grown in that area where in rocks the gold in native form is there, so that it can accumulate the flower. And flowers, when it is there in the field, it looks like the whole field is gold, shining. So now with this phytomining, one is the extraction of gold, the precious metal, and second, for that purpose we are using nowadays in India, that to reduce the toxicity. There are some toxic metals like your nickel, cobalt, zinc, lead. If they are hyper accumulator of these elements, they can accumulate, and in that area if you plant, this toxicity of that plant will be, that soil will be reduced. So it's a very new area. And these whatever I am mentioning, they are all opportunities for all chemistry students. Next, it's a fantastic new substance. It's a miracle substance. I call it graphene. Graphene is going to replace plastic. Graphene is your single carbon layer substance. It's a pure carbon. It is harder than diamond. It is stronger than steel. It is very much having a strong property of optics, transparency. And let me tell you, the plastic is having cracking and breaking. It is very powerful in terms of elasticity, that in future your television will be like your handkerchief. This handkerchief like this, your TV. You will put here, that you will see, and after that you can put your TV in your pocket. This graphene material is a new substance, the hardest substance. And that is going to change the whole world, and it may take 50 years or 40 years, but this graphene substance, but for example nowadays if you are touching 3 hours film, it will take 3 hours. With this graphene frequency, just you touch in 3 seconds, the whole will be downloaded. So high speed. And if you Google all the details, some you can also get. And then the next phytochemistry compound, that is phenolic, is isolated, and that is really adding air into age, that is aging process. But here, my concept of aging is different. I don't believe in adding the air. Maybe 100 years, so that you will become 200 years and you are people on the bed with low energy. No. I want to see 100-year-old youth with all energy. So to have 100-year-old youth, they are targeting the genetic modification, but no. With phytochemistry, with phytochemicals, we can have 100-year-old youth where your physiology, metabolism, biochemistry, pathology, all the parameters are young, and you are young. Mainly it is Professor Girardo must be knowing all this what I am telling you. It is all controlled by your enzyme action and your hormone. So this latest compound is phenolic, and its name is given here. It is having 3 phenolic in the group, and this is the powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. And today it is the fastest selling anti-aging compound in the world. And if you go on Google, you will get it. And it has the power to scavenge lot of antioxidants. At the same time, it can stimulate the production of insulin by activating the pancreas, so that those who are diabetic is a miracle to them. And also, your aging process means inflammation. If you are always frequently you are having inflammation, it means it's scavenging, and the name is resveratrol. This resveratrol is the magic glycoside, phenolic. It's a very powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. And if I'm okay, I promise today that I'm going to deliver one lecture on antioxidant therapy in future. So these are all phytochemicals which are very powerful antioxidants, and they can not only add years, they can add youthfulness also. And with this, I will conclude. And in my conclusion, I have given to you that I believe in understanding of the chemistry, creativity, all these things. And also, I believe in that this chemistry growth, if it fails to create the job more than people, more than population, then we are failed. So I wish that in future, with this chemistry growth and with this chemistry knowledge, nobody will be jobless on this planet. So